wanted to do a supplemental video on the mallard flank that I've been talking about in a number of different videos. So what I'm doing here is this is your typical bag of mallard flank that you can buy. There's a number of different companies that produce these. And as I mentioned, I think it was the Blue Professor video that I did. There's a video that Kelly Gallup has done where he talks about the difference between actual mallard flank and what you get when you buy a bag of mallard flank. And as I talked about it, you get a few feathers like this that are kind of close to being a genuine mallard flank feather, but mostly what you get are these loose feathers, which are more, they're breast feathers, even side feathers. They're smaller. They're not the genuine mallard flank. And the difference here is that when you get these larger feathers like this, you can make a left and a right here and cut slips out and match them up and get a really, really nice profiled wing for wet flies and for other types of flies. The marten, which is a video that I did just a couple days ago, talks about the mallard flank. The only reason I'm discussing it here a little bit is simply because there's some confusion in some tyers in terms of when a recipe calls for mallard flank or gray mallard or even a bronze mallard. What kind of feather are they talking about? A lot of people think that it's, these mallard flanks that you get from Wapsi or Hairline or different companies like that make these. But these are not the feathers that you're going to use for these wet flies or for some of these more, I don't want to say classic patterns. They are classic patterns, but this style of fly. So what you're really going to be using is you're going to be looking at a gray mallard flank or a bronze mallard flank. And I've got a couple here. I've purchased these off of eBay. You can get them at various different places. I'm sorry for the glare on the bags here a little bit. That's with the light. If the person who is selling them knows their feathers and how they produce these, you basically get a left and a right setup on these. So this is one bronze mallard wing right here, not wing, but I should say flank. And here is the other one. One would be a left and one would be a right. Part of this video also is I want to show you how I go about sorting these, because you're not just going to grab any old feather out of here to make say a mallard flank wing. You're going to sort through these a little bit. So there's your two sections. This would be off the right or the left side of the bird, depending on how you're looking at that bird. And again, that video that I mentioned from Kelly Gallup is a real good video because he's actually taking the feathers right off the bird when you see it. Now, when I get these, I'll go through and actually take these smaller feathers and separate them out. These can be used, you can get some small sections if you're doing some real small flies, but most of these are getting close to these kinds of feathers that you get. They're a little too small for a matched slip wing. You might be able to use some of these if you're going to just kind of clump these together into a post for a wing. But they could also be used for different nymphs like the zug bug or as a wrapped collar on a wet fly or something like that. But I'll just slowly go through and separate these. Now we're getting into a feather here. Some of that could be used. It could be matched up with another feather on the other side, and you could start using some of these to make a nice slip for a matched slip for a wet fly. Essentially, I'm just going to go through and make a little bit more room here. I would be going through this and start laying out the different feathers so that I can then match them up with the other side. As you can see, you're starting to get into different sized feathers, which means you're going to get longer materials for your wings. These would be considered a bronze mallard because of the more of the brown in the feathers, as opposed to these here, which I mentioned before. This is more of a gray mallard. And I would do the same process with this. This particular bag that I got has both right and left with it. So I would separate these out. See, there's where you're getting your nice matched slips for a matched wing. But I would separate those out also. Some of these feathers you could potentially use for other things. But if it's like this right here, that's nothing that I would use, then I would just discard it. But I would keep going through and separating the various feathers that have the characteristics that I'm looking for, which be these right here. I'll set those aside, and then I'll go through the other one as well. Now these are getting into, you've got a little bit here you could use, but this is more of a gray color, so you're getting out of that bronze color on that. Once I have these all separated, I will put these in a separate container. It might be a Plano box, it might be some sort of other organizing box, but I'll set all of these aside and matched up so that whenever I need them, they're right together. I don't have to sort through those again. These taller feathers, these are mostly the bronze mallard that you're going to get out of this whole cluster of feathers right here. Understand you're not getting a whole lot, so when you go through all of these, now you're getting out of the nice bronze color. There's some gray. You could use some of these right here that are more of a gray color, but you're done with the bronze. And as you can see with these feathers right here, they got none of the flank characteristics. You could certainly keep these and use them for something else or experiment a little bit with them if you want. If you have no use for them, then there's no use to keep those. And again, I would then go through the other side like this, and I would match these up that I want to keep. And I would set all of these aside so that whenever I want to use those for any fly tying, they're already all set. So I hope this helps a little bit. Again, your mallard flanks are they're just a specialized feather that's on the side of the bird, and this is if you're wanting to make nice matched slips for, say, a wet fly. Like I said, the martin, which I just did a video on, shows how to do that. If you're not wanting to, if you just want to clump some of the fibers together, then you could probably get a number of them out of this big bag of mallard flank. But there's a big difference between these types of feathers right here, the bronze mallard, or even just the regular gray mallard flank feathers like this. There's a big difference between those and the large bag of mallard flank that you get. So I hope you find that useful. If you have any comments, any questions, please let me know. There are links down in the description to the videos that I mentioned in this. I'll answer any questions you have. Until next time, just remember, it's fly tying. If you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong.